All right. Okay. So this meeting tonight is for the Benton Street Bikeway Study. My name is Nicole He. I'm with the City of Santa Clara Traffic Engineering Division, also project manager for this bikeway study. Today we're here as a neighborhood meeting to discuss traffic calming measures on Benton Street. So as I mentioned, this meeting will be recorded. If you have to leave early, don't worry, we will also post the recording online and also this slide deck on the project website. Here's a QR code for you to scan if you want to learn more about the project. We do have a draft public study report online. You might have already read it. And I also left my phone and email contact here if you want to discuss further or have more comments about the project. Next slide. So a very brief agenda tonight. I'll go over some of the meeting logistics, and then we'll dive into the project history and discuss the meeting purpose. Then I will go over the city's existing traffic calming policy, existing conditions on Benton Street, specifically between Marianne Drive and Lincoln Street. Then we'll share with you potential traffic calming measures to be considered on this street segment. Wrap up with next steps, and then open up the floor for any questions and feedback. Okay. So I will start with my staff presentation and overview of the project. At the end, we'll take the questions from the room first, and then go to the questions and comments online. If you're online or on your phone, you can press *9 on your phone to raise hand, or click on this raise hand function on the bottom of your Zoom app to ask any questions at the end. Okay, so my name is Nicole He, again, Associate Civil Engineer and Project Manager for Benton Street Bikeway Study. With me here in person tonight is Steve Chen. Steve, you want to say a few words?
Hi, everyone. My name is Steve Chan, the city's transportation manager, here to support Nicole's on her bikeway study project on Benton Street.
Yeah,
Welcome.
Yeah, we're here to answer any questions and take your feedback about this project. So a little bit brief project history. Back in 2019, city did a update to the bicycle master plan, which recommended new bike facilities on Benton Street. In January 2023, we officially kicked off this Benton Street Bikeway Study, which looks at actually from all the way from Dunford Way to Lincoln Street, a little over 2 miles. We have already conducted multiple rounds of community surveys, online meetings, and pop-up events. So I think I might have seen you in person at some of the events, but tonight we are only focusing on a specific section of this. In April and May, we actually released this Benton Street Bikeway Planning Study Report online for public review and comment. It's also online for review if you are interested into knowing the whole history and background. And then we brought this project to our city's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, also known as BPAC, for their consideration. So they recommended the council to adopt the report, and also they discussed various design alternative and for this project. Specifically, they have picked a preferred design alternative from Dunford Way to Santa Moss Expressway. However, they did not reach a consensus or have a recommendation for Benton Street from Marianne Drive to Lincoln Street. So this section will be our focus tonight to look at. So meeting purpose today, we will specifically review this bicycle boulevard option for Benton Street between Marianne Drive and Lincoln Street. So I have a project map here. It's the red box to your right. This section specifically is 38-foot curb to curb. We'll review city's traffic calming policy and program, and then discuss what could be potentially installed as traffic calming measures as part of that design option on this street segment. The goal here tonight is to gather input on these traffic calming measures and understand your level of support. Do you support or not about any of those traffic calming measures? So now I'm going to go over the concept that we presented to the PPAC and the public back in June. So here is the existing conditions. It's also a no build option, which means do nothing. So right now it's a 38-foot wide street with parking on both sides, 8-foot lane for parking. And then a travel lane each direction that's 11 feet wide. So overall it's 38-foot curb to curb. The first option,
Could you sit down?
oh, I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
Okay, is that better? Did I still block? Okay. Okay.
Maybe slide your laptop.
Okay. So the first option is the bike boulevard, which is what we will look at in more details tonight. This one does not remove any parking. It simply adds a green Cheryl marking to let people know cyclists and vehicles should share the road. It should include traffic calming measures. It's not shown in this graphic here, but that's why we are here to discuss what could be added. The next one is buffer bike lane. It removes parking on both sides. It's not the focus tonight, but it's one of the options that we presented. Again, this one transformed the parking lane to a 8-foot wide bike lane. The next one, sorry, it's a standard bike lane option, which is 5-foot wide, and then removes parking on one side. So the feedback we heard from the June 17 BPAT meeting is that the nearby community really support the bicycle boulevard option out of those three, which does not remove any parking. They share the concerns about cars speeding on Benton Street, and they also want to maintain parking. The committee and then the public also requested more information on effective traffic calming measures as part of the design. So this actually ties with our existing city's traffic calming policy. It was approved by City Council back in 1999. It serves as good guidance, as a good starting point for us to look at what could be possible for Benton Street. So the program includes 3 levels of traffic calming measures. And level 1 is less aggressive. And as you move on to level 2, level 3, it's more aggressive and has more physical alteration. So level 1 could be education, public meetings, neighborhood meetings, more enforcement on the police side, signing, striping, parking controls, or radar speed feedback signs. Level 2 and level 3, in the program and policy, it's actually stated that they're for 25 miles per hour residential street with 1,000 to 3,500 vehicles per day. And typically level 2 could be chokers, chicanes, gateways, or rumble strips. And then level 3 include more aggressive measures like speed humps, traffic circles, median barriers, etc.
What are chokers and chicanes?
So chicanes is where you might have like alternate side of parking. So this roadway center line is slightly like not straight, but it alters a little bit when you're driving down the street. And then chokers, it's like you have curb extension that kind of narrows down your view of driving when you're walking down the street or driving down. So here are the existing conditions. You're very familiar with the street. I'm not gonna go over too much detail, but sorry. You go back, yeah. So surrounding land use is mostly the residential homes, schools, parks, and church. In terms of roadway characteristics, it's actually an arterial road classified by our city's general plan. It's not a residential street, so just keep that in mind. It's also an emergency access route in case you don't know. So that means fire and emergency services do need to access the route. It's also a transit route where BTA runs bus 53. We also collected speed data most recently in July, just to look at how people are driving down the street. And we showed that 86% drivers exceeded the 25 miles per hour speed limit. So we see that cars are driving over the speed limit on Benton. And average daily traffic volume, that's 4,000 to 6,000 vehicles per day. So based on that and the volume of traffic on Benton, these are the 3 levels of traffic calming measures we are considering tonight. Level 1, we're looking at speed feedback sign. We have a picture here showing what it looks like. You might have seen it on Benton Street on the other side across Santa Clara High School. It basically tells you what your speed is when you're driving down the street.
Go ahead.
And then level 2 is the curb extension, which could happen, at the mid block or at the intersection corners. Level 3 is speed hump.
And I want to jump in here just to give a little more context and background. So as you could see on the previous slide, there's other additional measure under level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 2, as one gentleman mentioned about chicane, we're not considering that because of the characteristic of the roadway, because it's an arterial roadway intended to carry a lot more traffic than the traffic calming policy kind of identify, from 1,000 to 3,500, while current traffic volume on Benton Street is almost 4,000 to 6,000. So there's substantially more traffic. We don't want to create problem by installing aggressive traffic calming measure like chicane that forces 6,000 vehicle to curve, sort of swerve around every day. So be mindful of that. We did screen through the traffic calming measure and identify these would be the most appropriate traffic calmings to present to the community to potentially install on the roadway. Yeah.
I'm just curious, have you instituted any of these calming measures elsewhere in the city? I mean, are they actually in place, and if so, is there any follow-up data to show they're effective or not?
So we do have traffic feedback signs installed, the curb extension as well as some speed hump installed. We haven't followed up with exact traffic data, but we do have study from the state and federal government that shows their relative effectiveness. Of course, the radar speed feedback sign, because it's just a sign, doesn't really it doesn't impede or physically change people's driving behavior. So that those are effective initially, but generally lose their effectiveness over time. The physical alteration does make a more lasting change in the driving behavior and generally do lower the driving speed along the corridor.
Yeah, we'll go over the pros and cons a bit more for each level. Yeah.
Hang on 1 second. You showed data on a couple slides back. So you had 86% exceeding 25 miles per hour, and you had 85 percentile 34.7. So I think the question was, where you put that sign on the opposite side next to Santa Clara, how many people are exceeding 25 miles an hour there? And what's the percentile of people doing 34? Have you seen any changes?
Oh,
Is it effective with data? It's not the state said this. This is Santa Clara. Forget the state. Let's concentrate on what happened when you put that sign. There has to be data.
Yeah, we have to get back to you with those data. We don't have that for you tonight. So
That probably was pretty good. Yeah, probably here tonight. You're probably gonna get some questions.
Oh, I don't have.
yes.
Is the bull valley garden, I think that's the term,
Yeah, Bob. Yeah.
on Monroe? Is that an example of a curb extension?
Yes.
Like when they
With-
when they put that
Yeah.
that apartment building in there, they changed the curb. Is that designed to prevent right turns, or is it designed to slow traffic? Like, what's the purpose of
it's intended to slow traffic speed and shorten the
shorten it.
crosswalk, so the pedestrian is less exposed to vehicle traffic. So it's a twofold: traffic calming as well as traffic safety improvement at the
So
intersection.
my question is, are there other, is that what the curb extension is, or are there other designs?
There's mid-block curb extension.
Oh,
So that would be a place there's no crossing activity, but we would physically kind of physically narrow the roadway. So by narrowing the roadway, the study has shown that people tend to slow down because it's a narrowing of the roadway. It's less opening to drive through. So that has that effect.
and there is a crosswalk after adults. So is one of those lighted crosswalks an option?
It's not part of this particular traffic calming. That's more of a pedestrian crossing safety improvement. that's not part of this project at this time.
So does curb extension have application at in the section from Marianne to Lincoln? Would that be applied there?
We are just discussing if there's general support from the neighborhood to do anything regarding traffic calming. If the city council decides to do a bike boulevard with traffic calming, what type of traffic calming would the community support? And that's what we're here to discuss and get feedback from you folks.
Okay, so let me just go over each measure and then we'll take more questions at the end. So the first one is the radar speed feedback sign. The first few bullet points are taken from federal and state studies. Overall, it shows a potential speed reduction of 2 miles to 7 miles per hour. There's no substantial documentation about the volume reduction about traffic. It doesn't show any impact on emergency response. Fire vehicle can still drive through the neighborhood as they need to. The con, as we mentioned by a lady here in person, it's not effective in the long term if drivers just became not very sensitive about the message. So there are some design considerations. It must have unobstructed view, not blocked by any trees or when people are looking at the sign. It's better to place it on a straight street, which Benton Street does have some good locations. We should consider placement within school zones. It can be paired with police enforcement to increase the effectiveness. And also it needs support from adjacent property owners. So next measure. Oh, about this?
About the last slide, you're
Okay.
saying that. We show this and that, but there's no studies done in Santa Clara, correct?
Not,
It's just federal and state.
yeah, because
Getting information.
each installation is slightly different based on traffic volume
So there's
and
no rule set
that
that
is
applies to this.
not particular this section of street.
So level 2 is curb extension and bulb outs. Study shown about 1 to 3 miles per hour reduction. It could be a concrete curb extension shown on the top picture, or a flexible post, or we call delineator curb extension, similar to the one you see on Monroe Street. The impact on emergency route is nominal. It could reduce on-street parking space because you're taking away some curb space at the intersections or at mid-block. So there are some design considerations. For example, there might be relocation of drainage or existing utility. And it's better to place it where we have a pedestrian crosswalk, and which Steve mentioned, it could help reduce the crosswalk distance for pedestrians. Yes.
How much does this impact parking if the state law for daylighting already has a distance that is now required to be effectively vetted for parking?
Yeah, so
Right? It wouldn't affect it at all.
so yeah, the state light law allows city to put in 20 feet red curb at intersection corners.
Ever extend past-
So in that case, if it's not, if it's at the corners, then the impact to parking supply will be minimal. But if it's at mid-block, then it might take some space away. Yeah. You want to add anything?
Yeah, typically, yeah, and speaking specifically, I think you're thinking about a mid-block situation, adjacent to the driveway. I think, for the mid-block curb extension, we're kind of anticipating probably 1 parking space on each side of the street. So 2 space will be lost, if we do a mid-block, curb extension.
Okay, and then the next one is speed cushions. So this one is actually maybe a newer term for you. They are very similar to speed humps, but the difference is that they have longitudinal gaps. The reason why we did not show speed humps here is that speed humps will slow down the vehicle from fire department and any emergency response, so it's not acceptable to their operations. So tonight we are focusing on speed cushions, but they have similar impacts on speed reduction and volume reduction. The con is that it might increase some noise in your neighborhood, and then vehicles can choose to swerve, to avoid the speed cushions. So, for design considerations, it's appropriate at mid-block, not near an intersection. Shouldn't be placed along a sharp curve on the road. The recommended spacing in a series of speed cushions is 200 to 600 feet apart.
I want to jump in and add that speed cushion is more of a newer speed hump design. This is a more recent year, so that's why the 1999 neighborhood traffic calming kind of only mentions speed hump. That's just essentially one entire race hump without gaps in the middle. So we actually did reach out to the city's fire department, and they are in general okay as long as it doesn't impede, or the design of the speed cushion doesn't impede response time for emergency vehicles. So that's what's being presented right now, and we move forward with this particular level 3 speed cushion recommendation that then city council would weigh in with fire department's concurrence.
Sir,
before
may-
this.
Oh, when you get a chance, I just wanted to.
Okay,
You're
I'll go
welcome
in
over there.
Yeah,
But please.
so I think this one, Betsy first.
So I was wondering, you were talking about the fire department, and I think they were, had a lot to do with the 1999 policy. It's been my observation that a lot of the, emergency vehicles along Benton are from the police station, that's the other end of Benton. And then wondering if anybody has communicated with them.
The police station.
Yeah.
There's
There's
a
a police
down
station,
Benton,
all
okay.
station across, just across all the. That's a lot of police cars.
They hardly go down anymore. They used to go down all the time. It's almost always only fire trucks. I'm retired, I see it. They don't go down like they used to, not.
So we'll follow up with the police department as well as fire department, just to make sure they are aware what's being proposed when it goes to council for consideration.
By the way, I'm Ken Kratz, I'm on the BPAC and I'm not representing the BPAC tonight, but make that announcement. I have a question about this because this is new, it wasn't presented to the BPAC at the time that we discussed this. Okay, question how it's used. It appears to me that because the fire trucks have a wider wheelbase, that they're able to hit those gaps that are in the hump. And regular vehicles, which would be 90% of everything going down the street, would be affected by the cushion.
Correct. In general, it's the gap is wide, so a standard passenger vehicle will at least roll over one of the hump.
Yeah, we have, the next slide here shows like a schematic placement of the speed hump. It's 38-foot wide street, as you can see, so we could potentially place 3 humps in a row, and have some gap in between, which allows both fire vehicles to driving down the street without slowing down too much, but also effectively slow the passenger vehicles down. Typically there are 12 feet long and 3 inches at its highest point. Sorry, is there a question from the back?
Yes, we have one.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Todd from Lincoln to Benton. I happen to live just right on the corner there. And there's an awful lot of traffic with a lot of our utilities going to police, fire trucks, where you name it, and going. Are you suggesting, or is this council suggesting, this is something that kind of brought me to the meeting, that we're gonna put speed cushions or so on Benton Street?
That's what's being considered because the bike boulevard, as council approved, includes traffic calming measures. So we are trying to gauge, what support the community has for various level of traffic calming measures.
I'm all for safety first, but if we're talking about putting, is that where I go to church, we on one of the main streets into it, they have the speed bumps. And that's a complete residential area, just things like that. There's no school or anything like that. And it has cut down on it. Safety, great. But if we're thinking about putting these speed bumps on Benton Street,
They're cushions, they're cushions.
or even cushions, I don't know, like this.
It's different.
Yeah, that's why we're here to talk about it and get
It's
everyone's
not
feedback.
it's not a rock.
Yeah, I know, I've seen them. It's the same.
They're wide.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're doing, and I appreciate that, but I'm just saying, that's a major artery to many
It's
of
also
the people.
25 miles an hour.
If you're going too fast to go over a speed hump.
No, and I agree, no, safety first, safety first. But I'm just saying, we're talking about putting basically speed bumps on a major artery, is what we're saying. No matter how you wanna color code it, we're saying safety first, save all the,
Yes,
wanna do it.
that's a
That's
reminder,
exactly-
as you mentioned, that's why the.
I just wanna point out the other direction, fellas.
Yeah, the neighborhood traffic calming policy identified that they should, level 3, traffic calming measure should not be installed on. Arterial street, primarily only on 25 miles an hour residential street, as you mentioned, Benton here, it's high volume. The threshold is 1,000 to 3,500 is what was identified in the policy for level 3 traffic calming measure. And this exceeds it, but we have a companion policy that the bike master plan that shows that, this could be a potential bike boulevard, including traffic calming measure. So what can we do here? So that's why we have here before you to explore, what is appropriate, what is supported by the community at large.
Sorry, I think the gentleman with glasses
Sorry,
first.
I just want to say that the design of speed restrictions doesn't seem to actually serve its purpose anymore. Speed bumps or speed tables, right, cause every vehicle to have to slow down. This one will allow a large fire truck to go through the middle, and it will do nothing to stop cars from swerving to the middle to go through the gaps. Zero, right? And so how do we think that's actually gonna play out in the life?
Sorry.
Are they designed to allow vehicle to go over those speed cushions at 25 miles an hour?
No, it's,
So
as mentioned before, they're wide, the gaps are wide, so only a large a vehicle with a wide wheelbase could pass through unimpeded. In general, passenger vehicle who has a smaller wheel track will roll over one of the humps. Is it gonna slow, vehicle speed as much as a standard speed hump? Probably not, because only one of the wheels would roll over the hump. Is it gonna slow vehicle speed down? I believe so, because they do have to slow down to go over the hump.
Sorry, the gentleman at the back.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably attractive to the fire department because it deters passenger vehicles from utilizing Benton in this way. It may force them to take alternative routes, like they would either be on El Camino or they would be on.
So I again, bring it back to the neighborhood traffic calming policy, that's why level 3 traffic calming measure is not really recommended for arterial street that heavy amount of traffic, because it diverts traffic to neighborhood street where there's no impedance to, vehicle speed.
But this just makes it a truer arterial route, because right now you have so many cars on Benton that stack up at times with the stop signs, that even if there were an emergency, I don't see how a fire truck could get by with the amount of traffic that exists there, like in the afternoon or something else. But if there were fewer cars on Benton, they could actually improve, which would be important for response time.
Thank you.
Okay, we just have a few more slides to go over and then we will have more discussion at the end. So the neighborhood traffic calming policy and program by the city actually has a list of criteria for level 2 and level 3 measures. So the street must be a 2-lane local residential street. So this one actually does not meet because, as I mentioned before, it's arterial road classified by the general plan. The speed limit shall be 25 miles per hour, so that's checked. Traffic volume shall be between 1,000 and 3,500 vehicles per day. 85th percentile speed exceed 33 miles per hour. That's checked. We do have people exceeding that speed. Installation on a primary emergency response route or transit route will not be permitted. Installation will not be permitted if there is substantial traffic diversion to other local streets. And lastly, we also need to have at least 70% of the impacted residents support and 100% of residential support within 100 feet of those proposed level 2 or level 3 device location. So not everything is checked, but as we discussed, this is as part of the Benton Street Bikeway study. it will require approval from the council to allow us to install this level 2 and level 3 measures. But here tonight, we would just share these ideas with you and get your understanding, knowing how, if you're supporting those or not, then we will summarize the feedback for council's consideration. Yes.
Be confused with the first two not met criteria. This is a Arterial Street and the loading is way exceeding the next to the county civil stuff. Let's say we all like here, like, oh, this is great, like we want a speed cushion, right? Then what? Like, how do we, like, is there a path to get an exception? Like, I see the ones that you have checked off, but like the top one seems to be like, there's a requirement, doesn't meet that. Then what?
Yes, so as mentioned, it does conflict with the neighborhood traffic calming policy.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, it is part of the bike master plan to, install traffic calming measure. So at the end of the day, if council hears everyone's feedback, here's, the study, the data presented, they could override the policy. Because council approved the original policy, they have the authority to override and make exception. So it's up to city council, discretion to say yay or nay. Of course, you are more than welcome to attend those council meetings, so you could have one more say, hey, I support it, I don't support it. These are the reasons. Please make your decision, based on, the community's impact and feedback.
So next steps.
One more.
Oh, sorry.
When did Benton Street become an arterial street?
Yeah.
When I moved in that house, it was a residential street, and that's what it was.
That's my question. What makes it arterial? I mean, the only place that's not a school or a house is the, where the priests are, that.
Monster.
Yeah, the monastery. That, everything else is a house or it's a school. So how does it not become residential?
So as Nicole said, it was probably modified under the general plan, the city's general plan at some time in the past. I don't know exactly the.
I mean, nothing's changed. I mean, there's been nothing built. I've been there for 50 years in my house.
That street has not been changed to be an arterial street. It's still
Yeah,
a residential.
they're playing games, and, well, we gotta do this so I can do that.
I think a lot of us
That's,
feel the same way that
Yeah.
these gentlemen feel, right?
Digging a hole.
At
yeah,
least I do, I would say that.
yeah, no, it's playing games. 49ers aren't connected with us, are they? Hey, I'm sorry, if they are, we're done. If they are, we're done.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
They didn't fund any of this by itself.
for sure.
Yes.
Or something.
Hey, they're playing the council guys, and they're the ones making the decision, so,
Yeah.
I think that's outside of this meeting purpose, but let me just wrap up really quickly for the next steps. As I mentioned, we do need to get neighborhood support on what traffic calming measures we will install or contemplate on Benton Street. So we will send survey mailers to property owners and current residents on Benton Street between Marion Drive and Lincoln Street to gather their support for and their vote for traffic calming measure. So just to reiterate, the NTCP neighborhood traffic calming program required 70% support from impacted residents and 100% support from people within 100 feet of those proposed locations. We'll summarize all the feedback that we collected tonight. This meeting is also recorded, and I will present the recommendation with the community feedback to council later this year, TBD on the council meeting date. So I guess a big discussion question, and let us know which traffic calming measure do you support the most on Benton Street from Marianne Drive to Lincoln Street? Number one, the level 1 speed feedback sign. Level 2, curb extension of bulb outs, or level 3, the speed cushions.
Or none of it.
Or if you do not support any, let us know.
So I think for clarification, if the residents were to vote that they didn't want any of this, it doesn't negate the fact that the boulevard, the bike road or boulevard is still in place. It would just mean it goes forward without any safety measures.
Correct. It could end up being a bike boulevard without traffic calming.
Yeah, so it kind of binds citizens into saying, we either have no precautions in a boulevard, we didn't really. Maybe, I understand there wasn't a lot of feedback about this and it's moving forward. And so it's coming whether people want it or not, and this is.
Not
okay.
necessarily. There was 3 options presented as part of the bikeway study. We're just focusing on the bike boulevard portion at this time because that was an unresolved item when it was brought to BPAC for, you know, their consideration. As mentioned, there was other option that include a bike lane with removal of parking lanes. So those are still on the table to be considered by city council, but also we want to get as much information regarding the bike boulevard option. Flush out the detail. What if city council decides that they want bike boulevard?
Yeah.
But what does the community
I guess what
at
I'm
large
asking
want?
more clearly, if I was being inarticulate, is a vote saying that you don't support any of those. I think that what residents are wanting is a vote saying that maybe we don't want the bike boulevard. And so to say that you come away from this meeting with people saying they voted for none of these. I don't think is true to the cause of what people are moving towards. So I guess what I'm asking is the recommendation that people vote for something so that there is a method in place, or continue to go to council to say that maybe the plan needs to be revisited.
So we did get feedback on the 3 option already. That was surveys done as Nicole mentioned. That tally of survey is available on the city's website. In addition, when it goes to council, I welcome every one of you to attend to provide your feedback. If you don't agree with the survey results, that we gathered.
When do you think going, is it going through the new council or the current council?
TBD at this time.
The surveys that were taken, were they
Yeah,
taken,
where was the survey taken?
the residents
Wasn't
live on
taken,
the street?
no.
Because everybody I talked to live on the street.
Never itself.
Yeah.
I have gotten them.
They're
So-
taken at the Central Park thing, weren't they? or
Yeah, but
something?
they're not all.
Yeah, they're not residents. I mean, that's crap. To be honest with you.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt me, but he brings up a wonderful point. Where is the survey from and who's it?
So the survey was online. It was open back in January and run till February. So it was open to everyone. And we did ask question, do you live on Benton Street or do you live a few blocks away? It does show we have a quite a large number that they are the residents on Benton Street or close by. But I understand at the BPAC that in June, a lot of people from the neighborhood, especially within this street segment, showed up and let us know that they don't want any parking removal and supported either no build or the bike boulevard option, which is why we're here today to discuss
And
that.
we will also highlight that information to city council when it's presented, so that a certain portion of the survey taker do not live in this area. They support this.
Mhm.
People who live along that area support this. That information will be parsed out. So council knows that's like, okay, we are taking away parking. So what do these folks being impacted by this?
Well, so what would it care to anybody out of town, but for people who live.
Yeah,
right
so
on Benton.
council will consider that because that information will be presented by staff.
Yes.
I know it doesn't matter anymore because it was already done the survey, but I'm just curious, like, when it was online, because some of us are busy and don't always look online. But why wasn't the survey sent to us homeowners? Because I look at my mail and I never received a survey. I mean, I've been taking care of my father. And so I don't have time to go look online at like what surveys are available. And I would have looked at that because I have 5 cars that are registered to me. So I have a fence that I am proud to have, and you know, I'm not gonna take it down to be putting cars on my fence, I mean, on my whatever.
Just to clarify, we did send out mailers to all the addresses on Benton Street. So we actually sent multiple
To
rounds
do a survey,
to do the survey.
but I'm gonna tell you something, I know quite, I mean, I can say that I know quite 40 of my neighbors. And of those 40 of my neighbors, none of them got a survey. And so
We didn't
it's
get one.
amazing
I
to
know
me
it's-
No,
that
we didn't get a
I'm gonna tell you something, I mean, of those 40. And
Some of those people don't live on Benton, they live on other streets, none of them got that, so it's amazing to me that they didn't get that, so something got botched in the mail or
So
something.
just to clarify, it's a notice that a survey is online, not the actual survey. itself.
But I'm saying that a piece of paper you sent out,
Yeah, mailed out. to
Yeah,
each
Right.
a postcard, like a postcard,
Right.
yeah.
I did not get anything saying anything, I read all my mail, junk and all. Maybe because I never know what's.
Hey, like the letter you recently sent out.
Did you get that letter?
If I got,
Yeah,
got all,
So that
and
was-
got this,
Yeah.
You sent it clear, right?
yeah, that one, yeah,
So,
we did the same.
If you had done something similar to that, I think people would have responded a little bit differently.
So we'll double check the mailer, but the mailing list is exactly the same. So if you got it today, or also with this mailer, you should have gotten it on the previous several times that notice
Instead
was
of a
sent.
postcard. anything?
It's a postcard with, it's not a regular mail, but it's a postcard with Benton Street. It's more colorful.
Because they're trying to like.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the original one that came out, I saw it. It looks like an advertisement. That's what it looked like. And I bet you 10 to 1, a lot of the residents on Benton Street took that thing and threw it into the circular file. Because it looked like an advertisement. The only way you're gonna get people to respond to things is send a letter out. Addressed like an official letter instead of a card that looks like an advertisement.
Or put it in the utility bill.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I like that.
I would like to go back to Dear Sir on this whole concept of a bike-free boulevard. Since when did the city of Santa Clara abandon the majority rule? And I would like to ask everyone who rode a bicycle to get here tonight, please put your hands up.
I did.
1, 2, 4,
Ask them if they went down Benton.
4, 5.
Yeah.
We're going down Benton.
Straight in Benton.
I live on
And there
Benton
was
Street.
no trouble.
I live on Benton Street.
You're on this side of it.
Well, I'll tell you about it. My name's Ken Kratz. I live in Pomeroy, Benton. It's not in the survey area. But I ride all the time, up and down. I do a lot of shopping by bike. I walk, pedestrian. I use my bike. I used to work at the city of Santa Clara as a public works inspector, and I rode down the street every day to get to City Hall. So I use the street, and I really object, again, I'm not voting on any of this, but I'll make my comments. I've lived in the city for over 45 years. And I've used that street a lot, and I really take exception to people that think that they have a right to parking on the street. You don't have a right, it's a public street and it's open to debate. And the idea that you know, that it's yours parking is wrong. Now, it's my location, my building, my unit, my building, and the entire building, the whole frontage was taken, all the parking was taken by the city. So I have no parking in front of my unit, and I only have 2 spots on the side.
You have kids?
I'm not gonna answer any.
All right.
That's all.
Then it doesn't really, then it doesn't
That's
matter.
immaterial.
Then your questions
Now,
are.
Now, let me finish. Yeah, there's some, the city allows by ordinance for you to not just park in your regular driveway, you can pave the front of your lot and put cars there like people have done in my neighborhood. That's an option. So, you can get, one lady mentioned she has many cars, that's fine, she could do that, she could pave the area in front of her house, like many people in my neighborhood.
We're in the historical quad, you're not.
Yeah.
Oh, no, my building is historic.
But we're not new.
Well, come on, it's historic, it's
You're
historic.
historic because you're Eichler's, but you're not anymore.
Okay, well,
Okay,
anyway,
if I may, I do want to give some time for people who are online to speak up and ask their questions or share their comments. So so I have Diane Harrison online. Diane, do you want to unmute yourself? I cannot hear you. Is she speaking? Is she allowed?
Let's get back to our live studio audience.
Okay,
Well, I got.
sorry, we can't hear you. Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, there you go.
Hear me now? Yeah, I didn't have that option before.
Yes,
So now I,
Diane, we can hear
now-
you.
great. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm not there. I had a serious accident last night, so I couldn't come in person. But anyway, I live on Benton, not in that section, but I also walk and ride through there quite a bit. But the main thing is, I think that what we're overlooking is the fact that even that stretch is even considered an arterial. And that's some few people would mention that, but it doesn't need to stay in arterial because basically it's a residential area. But there are busy things on both the east and the west of that area, and that's where that's what's generating all the traffic. So the obvious solution, this is one I've said to mayor and council, is to put some bulb outs in Marianne and Lincoln and maybe on Scott. So to keep all the traffic be just the local traffic, so all the people that live there, you know, they get to their homes and they have access, and the emergency vehicles have access. But just put some bollards out at those sections so that regular people who are just going to and from the schools or universities downtown, they can't get through them. They'll have to take another route. And that would be my suggestion. And that way you keep it a nice residential street, doesn't need any other traffic calming, because that's going to do it right there. You won't have the speeders, you won't have you won't have any 6,000 people a day. You'll just have the people who live there and a few people who pass through, like on bikes and maybe motorcycles. So it won't be that much. And that would be the most logical solution to this section. And then the rest of the Benton can be the arterial. So that's my suggestion. You can say what you want about it, but I think that would work best.
Okay.
And then we don't have to worry about the traffic calming plan either, which does need revisiting after 25 years.
Okay, thank you, Diane. And then next we have Loretta.
Did you summarize what you said?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. So Diane have commented on in lieu of traffic calming, she said to put bollards at the gateway at the end of Marianne and Scott
Yeah.
to prevent cut through traffic.
And Lincoln.
And
Lincoln.
Lincoln, and essentially reserve the street de facto for neighborhood travel. So that was yeah, so it wouldn't be a cut through street, or it wouldn't be a through street at all. It'll come to a stop at those intersection points. So that is the comment provided.
Okay. Okay, Loretta. Sorry, I should have the speaker next time.
Hi, I do not live directly on Benton, but I use Benton a lot. And while most of it is up until Scott Street, I have frequently used Benton to get to high traffic, you know, or high areas like, Franklin Square, which happens to be something, you know, busy on Benton. And I've gone past the school there, the alternative school there. It is an artery. It is not residential. I'm a little disappointed that they decided to go with the bike boulevard, because I think if you remove the parking on one side, that would be equivalent to the level 2 curb extensions and bulb outs. It would be narrow. People would slow down. I have to say, riding my tricycle down that area makes me really nervous, and I often feel like I ought to divert off to a side street, because people do rush down there a lot. And that's not, you know, it's very scary for me on my tricycle, especially since people tend to go around my tricycle, since it's kind of a weird shape anyway, and so they're crossing into the oncoming traffic. I would say, reading the survey, it said that not a lot of that street was used for parking, like maybe 25%. So I think that perhaps people are overblowing how much the loss of one side of parking will affect them. So I hope you would maybe reconsider going to the removal of parking on one side to kind of help with the traffic calming.
Thank you. So this speaker that's online commented on that she does not support the traffic calming measure associated with a bike boulevard. Her preference is the installation of a bike lane with removal of parking lane on Benton.
Because
So
she
that's,
doesn't live around them. She uses. it.
yes, so that's her comment. Thank you.
Okay. Next we have Jeff. Unmute you, Jeff.
Hi, I live a couple blocks away from Benton and I bicycle Benton twice a week. It's a very dangerous section to bike. So I support level 3 cushions.
Okay.
In addition, I drive Benton once or twice weekly and try to keep it 25 miles an hour. Once, not too long ago, a big truck was behind me and annoyed that I was following the speed limit. So he drove around me into oncoming traffic. So I share that story because I want you to know how aggressive drivers can be on that roadway. Thank you. That is all.
So this caller mentioned about being a cyclist and living not on Benton but near Benton. Traffic is aggressive on Benton.
Yeah.
He supports level 3, the speed cushions idea.
Can I say something now? Why was Benton chosen? Yeah, what's wrong with Homestead? Why not Harrison?
So
goes the same distance.
So this is part of the bikeway master plan adopted by City Council in 2018. That master plan effort gone to a intensive community outreach to develop a bike network, and not just 2 bike lane, but a bike network connecting various part of the neighborhood and streets. So
Bike runners ever. I've been through 30, I walk down that street every day and I see no bike riders.
Very good. Gotta dodge the kids.
Cars, they have extended families living with them, they have family visits, they have their houses worked on, they need to be able to park their car. That's not an option, parking should not go away, period. And by the way, if you start putting speed bumps and stuff, guess where those cars are gonna go? In other people's neighborhoods and make those busy. This is like such crap. You know why people are speeding on Benton? Because you reduced all the lanes from San Tomas, Benton, and all the way down to Lafayette. You reduce lanes, you take away lanes, people want to make the lights. That's one reason they speed, because I know I do it. Why don't you just put radar up, stop wasting money on this whole proposal, just put radar up, even though I like my privacy. That way, just everybody gets a ticket if they speed and let be the end of it. I just don't get this. It's such a waste.
let's finish up the online commenter and then we'll come back to the room.
Yeah. Next person I have online, Michelle. I will allow you to speak.
Yes, I'm actually asking about the future survey, the traffic calming survey that you're going to send out to the actual residents between Marianne and Lincoln. And wondering if it's going to include where the particular calming measure, whether it be the speed cushions or whatever, where the plan is for those to go, as well as our opinions for in the survey.
So the location of these the traffic calming measure location has not been identified. This is a study, so it's not the design phase of the project. When we come to those, the design phase will nail down the exact location and reach out to the specific resident that will be those devices will be located adjacent to. So that will be part of the design effort. So at this time, the survey will basically gauge your support. It does indicate that the selected measure may be within 100 feet address. So there is a potential that everyone needs to be considering when they pick the option or not pick the option.
Okay, so you're gonna send out a survey and we're gonna need to answer the questions, which whether we don't know whether or not or who it's actually going to affect.
Correct.
So you want a yes or no when we don't even know what the outcome is going to be, what the proposal is. it's kind of a useless survey, in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay. So this individual asked about the survey, questionnaire. We're gonna pick exact location at this point in time. Caveat, this is a bike planning study. It's not a design effort at this time, so we don't even know, we're gonna even design a bike boulevard at this time. So there's no design that's been done at this point. But the survey does caveat that if we're gonna do certain measure, it could potentially be located within 100 feet of your property. So that you should also consider that on your survey voting.
Yeah. Okay, next I have Magnus online. Let me.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, so I live in Benton. Yes, Benton is a very busy street, and the plan here that we will have to live with and we want to live with is that the plan is to increase safety for bicycles going down our stretch of Benton. I think we all agree that we want to have a safe street for bicycles. My daughter bikes, I want her to be safe. According to your own data, the safest option for bicyclists is the bike boulevard. That's why we've also been pushing for that as residents in this area, because obviously we don't want to have our parking removed. That's just crazy idea. I don't know where it even came from. That's completely unreasonable. Ken, for instance, brought it up. Can you have plenty of street parking outside your house? I know where you live, so don't say anything else. So I think that having a bike boulevard will probably in itself calm the traffic a little bit because you're actually sharing the road with slower bikes. But to further increase the safety for the bike riders, I think all three measures is more or less a must, at least level 1 and level 2. That I don't think you can get away from that, right? To add to that, I think it's regarding the speed cushions, you're asking for 100% agreement from the people around that. I think that's probably got to be unreasonable because some of the houses around here are Airbnbs. They won't even respond to your your surveys and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know what you're gonna do about that, but anyway, that's my 5 cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. To recap, this caller mentioned that he lives on Benton Street. He supports a bike facility on Benton. He supports the bike boulevard concept with traffic calming, not the parking removal option of installing bike lane on Benton. He also mentioned that it will probably be tough to install or get 100% resident support for a speed cushion, 100 foot around the speed cushion. But he does recommend installing level 1, level 2, and potentially level 3 traffic calming measure if it's possible.
Okay. Sorry, let me get through people who are online. Next I have Lenore and Petra.
Hi, I wanted to mention, so I live on Benton Street between San Tomas and Los Padres. And I've been involved in all of these different surveys and presentations and stuff. And at each one, I made the same recommendation, which is I really think, although it's unpopular with Americans, that roundabouts at the very least at Los Padres and Marianne, especially if they have a planter, would actually calm traffic down tremendously. Because it forces people to look, it sort of channels their focus in a certain direction, as opposed to what we often see in my stretch is people sitting at the stop sign, see the light on San Tomas, and if it's green, they go because they think green means go. And they don't even stop at the stop sign sometimes. If they do, then they just take off speeding to try to make the light. And I feel like if you had those roundabouts with planters such that they're forced to focus on that intersection when they're in it, they would just proceed more cautiously, and then they would see the light once, it's meant for them, as opposed to before they get there. I guess my question is there a reason why a roundabout or a planter is not in this plan? And is there a way to have that be considered?
So thank you for your comment. So this caller mentioned traffic calming measure in lieu of, or instead of speed cushion, consider roundabout with a planter placed in the middle of the intersection. So I'll answer that question. So this is a emergency vehicle route. So the roundabout concept will impact response time from fire department. That's why it's included in the traffic calming policy, that they don't support traffic calming measure, level 3 traffic calming measure along Benton Street. We are able to convince them that the speed cushion is unlike speed hump that impacts their response time. So in that regard, they are open to speed cushion being installed as part of a traffic calming measure along Benton. Let us finish the online questions.
So I have 2 more raised hand. I think, Jeff, you still have your hand raised. Do you have more comments? Yes.
No, thank you.
Okay. And Lenore, do you have follow-up question or comment? Your hand is still raised, so mute you. Oh, I think she lowered her hand.
Okay, we'll bring back to the room.
Question. So how many bicycle accidents have happened last year on Benton Street between Santa Moss and?
Oh, we don't have any like collision in
the last 5 years, last 10 years. Is that data that you can provide?
It's actually in the report too, if you want to pull, collision history. Yeah, it's in the study report.
The rest of it?
Yes.
In the report I saw, it seems like the section from Lincoln to Scott. Yeah, was the least most safe section.
That's why it's wider, you got the school, so that's not, there's not a lot of cars, that's why. It's a lot of.
And then besides the cars, now you got the e-bikes that are going 30 to 35 miles an hour. And the scooters, and it's not just the cars, and now we've got these e-bikes that are just flying. You don't see them when you're pulling out of your driveway. They come up on you fast.
And the section we're in, they go down the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Well,
They wheel along so fast.
Can everyone raise their hand before commenting? Okay. Thank you.
I'm Jim Meyer. I've lived in my home for 69 years on Alice Drive, off of Benton Street. I've been paying attention to how many bikes go down Benton Street. If 5 bikes go down in an hour, I'd be giving a lot. I would think on the survey that the city has taken for the bike boulevard, the first thing they would want to ask is how many bikes go down Benton Street. We know how many cars go down Benton Street, and it's a lot. And they're talking, it's very obvious that the special groups of the bikers have gotten together and have gotten this through to the city. They have a lot of pull, and we have spent millions of dollars on bike trails throughout the valley, which is great. San Jose is doing tremendous job for bikes. And they had 28 deaths on bikes this year, and they're doing a lot for the bikers. This is telling me we shouldn't be encouraging bikes down Benton Street. I can't imagine the city We're in financial straits. We can't keep up our streets. We can't keep up our tree trimming, our sidewalks. And we're talking about putting all kinds of things down Benton Street for the bikes. And we don't even know how many go down the bikes, but they call it a bike boulevard. How did the city get caught in this thing? It's political. Somebody has got a lot of power. And they pull the strings and the city is jumping. And it's about time the city say, no, we're gonna get our streets taken care of. We're gonna get our sidewalks taken care of and take care of the citizens. Of the guys that buy these, that pay for the insurance on their car and pay for gas and have to go to work. And some guy that wants to ride down the bike down Benton Street is jerking us around. The city has to say, no. That's what they have to learn how to do.
Thank you for your comment.
Okay.
I agree. There's nobody, very few licenses on that. I walk down Benton at lunch almost every day, and I count the bikes. 80 going from Marianne to the Alameda, there might be a license, 82. That's it. I'd expect a lot more than that if you put this much effort into it. So,
Okay, I'm gonna continue around the room. Next.
So I'd like to respond to you when you're talking about 35 miles an hour on an e-bike. All e-bikes are limited to 28 miles an hour.
You can modify them.
Okay, you can modify them, sure, but then you're out of legal.
It's
Still,
still.
I understand that people who kind of extend bikes to go 12 miles an hour need to adapt. Okay. Number two, saying there aren't any bikes on Benton is like saying, I'm looking at a river and nobody's swimming across. We don't need a bridge.
Yeah. Next.
Yeah, and I, like explaining the logic behind the bike lane, like you don't see bikes on the freeway, that's because, car traffic is faster, but there's also no space for them. So you create space for bikes that establishes the space where they can travel. And I think that's essential. And I do work in the community. I ride my bike every day. I don't have a car, which is lovely, so I don't have an impact. I don't clog it. I don't pay for gas, and I don't cause gas stuff. I've lived here. Huh? And you don't break the roads. Well, I don't break any of the roads, but I take Homestead and I go to De Anza College, Bridgeland College. I've worked there since like 2008, and I've lived in the community since 2004. So I mean, it's just a wonderful asset, and I think there are a lot of people that use things in addition to bikes. They're calling it a bike boulevard, might be a bit of a misnomer, where you have scooters and other types of pedestrians and mobility devices that are coming along that aren't cars, which are a tremendous asset to people who want to live there. Plus, I think reducing the speed in the neighborhood, if people are traveling almost 35 miles an hour in a neighborhood, I don't want to buy your house. I don't want to live on that street. So I think it affects your home values and it shits up the place. So, yeah.
I think
Next. Yes.
Yeah. I think just regardless of what the final outcome is, I think we can all agree that we want less traffic through cars. And we want safer streets for everybody. I think everyone here at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day is a pedestrian and we want safer streets, right? So I think we just, and I understand bike versus cars is very contentious, right? But we really just need to understand, we need safer streets for everybody. Everyone's a pedestrian, everyone uses the sidewalk at some point, right? So I think we really need to take that into consideration, right? And, the arterial versus residential, I don't know if that's something that can be taken up with city council to say, hey, it's, this is not arterial, it's residential. Right, but at some point that decision was made because at some point there was enough driveways and cars making it that way and expanding the road. These were here by accident, right? It's because there was demand. So I just wanted everyone to consider that, as we're going through this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to agree with the last speaker that we're all here to try to slow the traffic down. I think that improves everybody, cyclists and for the residents, maybe the property values go up too. And I want to make a comment. The fact that that there may not be a lot of cyclists there, by the way, I've used it almost every day for 30 years. That stretch that we're talking about. The fact that there's not a lot of cyclists there is is not much of an argument, and I'll tell you why. When we built the San Tomas Aquino Creek Trail, there was no trail there. Now look at it. It's one of the most popular features in the entire city. There, if you go on at lunch hour particularly, you can hardly ride a bicycle. There's so many pedestrians on it. And there's cycling activity all hours of the day. So there's an example of nothing existed, and when you put something in, it becomes very attractive. So that's something to think about. The second item I want to bring up, by the way, I like the speed cushions personally. I think that might solve the whole problem. But I want to address the staff a little bit. Now, in the traffic calming standard that we have, that we've been talking about all night, it does include at level 3 a thing called a traffic circle, which is very similar to a roundabout that was brought up by one of the callers. And I am wondering why that wasn't allowed, and I'll tell you why. When I was on the BPAC, we have a subcommittee on the BPAC, which I'm part of, and we researched using roundabouts around the city. And the first one we picked was Forbes. Forbes is on the list of the fire department as being a fire route. We sent the information, the staff sent the request to study Forbes to the fire department. They responded that they didn't see an issue with driving their truck on Forbes if we add a few roundabouts. So my question is to staff, can we put some roundabouts in as another discussion level here under level 3 as another option?
Sorry, the lady at the back first.
I do want to make something clear. We have the concept of bike boulevard, which means the cars and the roads, and the bicycles share the road. Basically, am I understanding?
Correct.
Yes.
So bicycle boulevard is as opposed to removing parking on both sides of Benton Street. Instead of removing parking, we do a bike boulevard, which means we put signs on the road for bicycles and cars to share the road. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay, so bicycle boulevard means no parking removed. So that's, I think, something we can agree on, maybe, at least most of it, I don't know. But the other question I have, I believe on your very first slide, when you were going over the different possibilities or options, the first level, I think if I saw it correctly, it reduces speed up to 7 miles an hour. So it seems that level 1 has the most speed reducing effect than the other options. Is that what you said?
So that's the study shows that after initial installation, it does have that dramatic speed reduction as shown on the slide. But you know, based on experience over time, motorists becomes desensitized because now it's just another feature on the road. They just kind of ignore it now. So over time, they become less effective.
Because there is, like on Winchester Boulevard, there is a senior facility. And over there, I don't go there actually anymore because many times there are police officers there and they give tickets to people. And so I think a lot of people have, realized, so if that happens once in a while, then like CHP does it on all the major holidays, they are enforced on the streets and on the highways, people do pay attention. So I don't know if that's possible. I understand your point about being desensitized, but is that possible that a few times a year remind people that this is not just a flashing light and means something? I don't know.
So that was reviewed as part of the BPAC presentation. The feedback that staff received that during that community meeting at BPAC, the desire was to install traffic calming that has a physical feature other than additional enforcement. The consensus during that meeting was that we need something physical to slow vehicle speed. That's why we're here to discuss alternative other than enforcement signs, and we're diving into level 2 and level 3, the choke ball bow and also a speed cushion. So that's why we're here. We did talk about it.
You're saying that level one that you mentioned here is out.
No, it's not out. It's still in the mix. It's just that we're considering level 2 and level 3, as well as the permanent fixture on radar speed feedback side. So those are still options.
Sorry, I had never heard the term cushion bicycle.
Yeah.
The cushion. I understand you say it's wider or lighter, and I mean, big trucks can go.
Mhm.
What about, how does it compare to a hump or a bump in terms of height? And you also said it will increase the noise, which I'm very familiar. As the cars go over the bump, this is going to become very noisy. Do you know anything about how much level of noise is going to go up, especially at 2 or 3 in the morning? I lived in an apartment that was very close to the beginning of the people coming in. At 2, 3, 4 in the morning, everybody going over that hump, it makes a huge noise and wakes you up. Do you have any information?
So
How much do you?
So the speed hump and speed cushion, like I mentioned, they call it cushion because it looks like a pillow on the roadway. That's why they call it a cushion. But the difference is that there's a gap, as mentioned before. That's the main difference. But the height of the cushion is exactly the same as the speed hump. It's still 3 inches high. I think maybe you're referring to the difference between speed hump and speed bump. Speed bump is generally installed on parking lot or parking aisle where you come through and you really hear that thump thump going over that. The transition on the speed hump is a lot longer, so it's more gentle in terms of car going over it. So the noise level is generally lower. Not to say that it's going to be noiseless, depends on how fast the vehicle is traveling. They may still create some amount of nuisance noise. So, but in general, they do not cause the same level of noise as like a speed bump on the parking lot. Yes.
So, Benton and Los Padres, the corner there, it's a 4-way stop sign. And people go through it all the time.
Yeah.
It's an accident waiting. I mean, there's accidents there all the time. And I think that especially and also people go through it trying to get through, to go faster, to get to go through for San Tomas. I think if there was some way of putting blinking lights or doing something, if you're going to be having bikes and having cars and us sharing the road, doing something, I don't mean, you can still have it a stop sign. I'm not saying you have to make it a light, but because every other street, all the other streets have lights. But if you've had blinking lights so that cars know that there's a stop sign there. Or do something to trigger if you're trying to, it's gonna slow people down. Or I don't know, get someone out there that knows what to do, but it's a huge issue. I know we're out there all the time helping. My son has pulled our next door neighbor has pulled people out of cars, all that. It's tragic. And if you get bikes in the mix of that, if you're trying to get more and more bikes down there, you don't want a bike in the middle of cars going through. It's pretty scary. So,
Okay. I'll take one more question from the room and then we'll go to a few more people online. Go ahead.
So we had police out in front of our house. They stopped and ticketed like 4 or 5 cars in an hour. And the next day, the speeding was,
I just want to say something. I've told the cops many times about that intersection, like one that we go to Costco on Harrison and whatever the other street is.
but there's only so many cops.
Well, yeah, but they don't care anyway. It's a waste of their time. They don't care. They want bigger things to do. We don't have enough cops, whatever. I have told them many times about it. I see people going through that stop sign all the time.
Yeah,
well, I know you're right. I think the blinking lights are perfect.
Two things. Well, I would like to make a comment, I'd like to ask a question. So first, I'd like to make a comment. The comment is that, I think what I want people to understand is that the city is also looking towards the future. I don't know how much you were involved in this, but through like
reading and becoming involved in this, you know, they're planning a transit village down where the train station is. They have big plans for down there. So it's like, well, it's all part and parcel of why they're doing all these things. So you need to be more involved in the community. You need to understand what people are planning. If you don't like it, you need to get involved in the planning stage, because city people have to think, they can't just live in the present. They have to think 4 or 5, 10 years, 15 years down the road. And so, you know, there's not, they need to look for a time when people are riding more bikes, because like Ken says, or other people say, you know, there will be a time when people are taking alternate means. I don't mean that I don't support taking away the parking, just to be really clear. But I'm just trying to tell you why some of this is happening. I think it helps to accept it a little better, that there are big plans for that section down there. And I don't know if they're ever come to pass. So my question, and so I think that in many ways, the bike boulevard is an effective, reasonable compromise. And the members of the bike committee at the meeting were willing to accept it if there were reasonable calming measures in place. And I think that's one thing a lot of us agree is it's not safe for our kids. It's not safe for my cat. It's not safe for the squirrels. I mean, it's not safe for a lot of people, the way that people speed down the street. And also, it's very loud when the cars go fast too. So if you sit in your front yard and try to have a phone call, it's hard because the cars make a lot of noise when they go fast. So I think in general, this is a really positive thing to try to reduce the traffic speed any way we can. So here's my question. Is there any way to influence the traffic navigation applications? Because I personally feel that a lot of this comes because people are using Apple Maps or Waze.
That's when it started.
Sending them
That's
down
when
our
it
street.
all started.
And that's kind of when it all started, and when those became popular. So so my question to you as traffic engineers, is there any way that you can, you know, or the city can go to them and say, like, you know, you need to,
Take Benton off.
yeah, well, I don't know, but I don't know, I know it's an unreasonable question, but it's something that's been solved.
So we did raise this question as part of the county level. The county VTA, Valley Transportation Authority, the congestion management agency for Santa Clara County did engage, you know, Waze and Google Map and Apple Map. Is there any way not to send people down our way? But that's their business model, unfortunately. And we do have ability to flag certain area for construction area that, hey, don't send traffic this way because it's construction here. It may not be safe. They're open to that kind of suggestion, but their business, we don't regulate how they do their business, unfortunately. So we don't have the ability to have them remove certain street from their mapping software.
I feel like Los Gatos was able to do that though, because there was an issue with Highway 17 that had become backed up. And so drivers from the highway would get off and they would go through. Cause congestion, and so they did take that off of Apple Maps, Google, et cetera, so there wouldn't be.
So, yeah, I'll have to look at it because that's a state highway kind of coordination. I do see that being a huge, more of a safety concern than just people getting off and driving down a local street.
I went up, sorry. I've made it a personal experiment by going the speed limit. And I want to tell you, it does not add significant time to your traffic. Please try going the speed limit. What you will find is that you reach the intersection where the speeders are sitting there waiting. The people that sped past you are sitting there waiting. There's something called stochastic queuing theory. It's a very complex mathematics, but basically the simple thing is that if everyone went the speed limit, there would be less congestion because you don't go on the freeway or this road at the same time. So actually, if everyone went the speed limit, there would be more flow through. We would actually get to where we're going faster. And I mean, you can see it on the freeway, people just accordion up and then it takes longer for them to start again. If everyone just went a little slower, they would all get there quicker. But I'm just asking you to try that experiment for yourself. Try going to speed limit.
Okay, thank you. We have one.
We have a few more people online. I do want to give them a chance to talk. Aziz, can you unmute yourself and speak? Not sure you're still there.
Yes, I thought I unmuted myself. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. I mean,
Hey,
Can you,
all right.
folks be quiet, please?
Yeah, so first of all,
Yeah.
thanks for this opportunity and thank you for all the work that's been done in this. I just wanted to raise my voice as well, just as a supporter of a lot of the comments that were being done. I want to make sure that we understand that taking parking away is not a solution. So I wanted to make sure that there's an extra vote heard loud and clear that taking parking away from Benton is just going to cause a whole bunch of other disasters for the streets around. A question that I often ask myself since this thing has come up over the past few months is, I personally ride a bike occasionally, and I use Homestead Road. I live on Benton. I live off of Benton and Pierce. But if I want to go down towards the Cupertino area, I just use Homestead because that has a bike lane all the way through. So I've been struggling as to why we would spend all this money and put all the effort. And again, someone made a comment about the city having plans of doing something at the transit area and looking long term and things like that. So I'm not preview of that. I don't know what those plans are, but it's just a question that I have as to why would we not consider just routing bikes towards Homestead, because they already have a well-developed bike lane all the way down, and and they are parallel to Benton. So why just not use Homestead instead of disrupting everything on Benton, and especially this piece of Benton where we don't have enough room to fit a bike lane and have parking and have safe driving. So why, what's causing us to force Benton down this instead of having just people go down Homestead? That's a question I have that I'm trying to figure out. But speed cushions make sense as long as they're not noisy. That was a good point that someone brought up. Speed feedback signs. I mean, personally, I'm not a speeder, but sometimes we all get heavy footed and those feedback signs remind us of the speed that we are going. And I think that's a good choice as well. So again, I don't know if anyone can answer a question as to why, if we've considered just routing traffic to Homestead, or if there's a reason why we want to do Benton in parallel to Homestead, but that was the main one I wanted to bring across.
Thank you. So this caller voiced his opinion that he doesn't support removing parking on Benton to fill any bike facility. He does support traffic calming measure along with the bike boulevard concept. He has a question. Why isn't Homestead being routed or cyclists being routed to Homestead instead of creating a new bike facility on Benton? As I mentioned earlier, the 2018 bicycle master plan laid out a bicycle network throughout the city. I welcome all of you to look at that document that City Council adopted. It has all the background information, how that was developed. So that will answer your question, why do we have this here and not there and everywhere? So that document has it all there, all the history, how it's developed, the public engagement process. So that's available on the city's website. So please go take a look if you're interested.
Okay. Next I have Tom. He's next.
Yes, hello there. I'm very happy with this group. Everybody seems very calm and organized. And I use the word for calming because traffic calming is good for all. Your noise level is going to go down 50% with the racers, and unfortunately, they have to put these obstructions for cars, and that will probably bring up the noise level. But I believe that narrowing the roads and doing what's necessary to calming the traffic going through your neighborhood will make your neighborhood a better neighborhood, and you'll have more peace of mind with the trees and the walkways, which is an issue with the city of Santa Clara now. But I'd like to have one question answered, please. What is the projected speed after the calming occurs? Thank you very much for your time.
So this color, in general, support traffic calming measure, on Benton Street, and the question was.
What's the projected speed after we put in traffic calming? So, that's TBD. We don't have before and after study, at this point. Or it really depends on which calming measure we put in, so we can certainly follow up on that.
Could you give me an estimate, please?
At this, at this point, no, we only have some studies and research data shown in my slides for each measure.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. So I have Michael next. Michael, can you unmute yourself? Okay. I think I unmute you. Michael, can you try to speak up?
Yeah, do I?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. So I tend to ride mostly across Benton, mostly crossing at Los Padres, which is kind of a scary intersection in many cases. Don't always trust drivers to stop completely there, and I suspect that was one of the intersections that was somebody previously had in mind, perhaps. I do ride on Benton too from time to time, mostly from Los Padres and eastwards towards the Caltrain station. So Homestead would not cover the full route there for me. I understand that west of Santa Maus, Homestead might be a better choice for those who go that direction. But then Benton is also wider and has better options for adding bike lanes on it. In general, I don't think that the level 1 is going to have a lasting impact. I don't really see drivers in general paying much attention to these signs once they have been there for more than a few weeks. So I think that a level 2 or level 3 is going to be needed one way or another to get the speeds down at least somewhat close to the posted limit. But thank you for hosting this.
Okay.
Okay, so this caller's comment is that he's a cyclist that uses Benton. And his route is on Benton is to the Caltrain station. So the Homestead suggestion from the other caller wouldn't work for him. He does not support level 1 traffic calming measure because they are not physical improvement that actually slow vehicle speed. He supports level 2 or level 3 traffic calming measure for them.
Yeah. Just during time, it's almost.
Before you go, we do have the survey available right now, in lieu of waiting for the mailer to be mailed to your house. You could, fill out the mailer, survey right now and give it back to us, so it saves you, or you could,
Where do we bring it?
Can we drop it off at City Hall?
Yes.
Where?
This is.
Yeah. So, after the meeting, actually, I will mail it out, but if you want to put in your answer right now, which saves you time, you can do so, and I'll just collect it right here. Or you can call me, which I have my contact number, and let me know your response.
Bring it down.
Yeah, if you want to bring it down to City Hall, that's fine too.
Can we scan it and PDF it to you?
Yes, I have my email address, also in the slides, so, let me know your vote for the traffic calming measure. Okay.
So, before everyone disperse, any other final remarks,
comments?
questions before we wrap up and pass out these survey? Yes, you can.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for time.
Appreciate your feedback.
Please check in, leave your name and contact so I can follow up if any more questions.
Okay, thank you.
I will stop sharing now. And stop the recording.